Hi there, and welcome back to yet another great keto chat here on the BroBryceHealth channel here on YouTube. My name is Bryce L. Tomlinson, and I'm here to talk about intermittent fasting. This is going to be a live keto chat, and you guys are welcome to check in. You're welcome to pop in, drop down your weight measurements if you want to, what your progress is like doing your current health journey. Also give me feedback on what the stream looks like on your end. I know that YouTube is giving me some feedback on the health of the stream. Hopefully the archive, the replay, will play back smoother, and hopefully it's not too much trouble today. So we're having some kind of technical difficulties at the moment, but hopefully you guys can still enjoy this content. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Again, my name is Bryce Tomlinson. I'm here to answer your keto questions. Later on in the hour, we're going to do a book giveaway, as I do every week. I got 4 different paperbacks you can choose from, and we'll talk about that in a little while. My check-in today is that this week, since I finished up the bacon experiment last Sunday, and tomorrow is again Sunday, I am basically doing lazy keto this week. For me, lazy keto is kind of like a cheat day. I don't eat stuff that got me in trouble in the old days. I just don't. I don't eat. I hardly ever eat like products or drinks, products like in the store where I work, I stock, all the health bars and health shakes and protein shakes and all these different things, and I don't consume any of those things. I used to. When I first started out, it was kind of a staple. It was something that made going low carb easy, and I just don't do it anymore. But I see the stuff and I think about it, and I don't know, it gives me a chance to open up a conversation with people about what real food is versus what products are. And so you might hear me talk some about that today. My check-in is I may have gained a couple of pounds doing lazy keto in the last 6 days, and I'm not worried about that. At this point, I don't feel like tracking, and the first day, man, I just ate like the world. And to be honest, it was almost like that was already Thanksgiving for me. I don't know what Thanksgiving is going to be like, but I'm really not going to worry about my macros until then. What I'll probably do is probably in the next day or so, I'll probably do like a protein sparing modified fast, just a day or two sometime this week of just eating like 1.25 pounds, 1.5 pounds of pork loin, and just call it good. I got into a conversation with someone at work about intermittent fasting a little bit, and it kind of sparked my imagination about what our understandings of nutritional guidelines and stuff like that are. Our understandings of like how we should be eating throughout the day. That's been something that I've thought about quite a bit, because when I first started doing low carb, I thought, hey, we're supposed to be spreading out our meals throughout the day. That's how I started. And so I think that my thinking on that has changed dramatically. I don't really think that grazing and snacking in between meals is a great idea. I don't think it's a good idea. But I do think that it is a natural part of the journey to begin with. As you guys are familiar with, if you've done keto or if you've done low carb, it takes a while for your appetite to subside, and you can expect that, you know, you're probably going to be snacking some. I'm going to do a little welcome to the Keto chat, and I just wanted to talk about, you know, whether we should be snacking and what our meal times should look like, and, you know, whether you need to worry about calories or anything like that. I do think there's some, I know there's a lot of debate about whether caloric deficit is a thing, if you need to be in a caloric deficit. I don't know if that much attention needs to be paid to caloric deficit, but I do think that the natural tendency of people, if they're just eating until they're satisfied, the natural tendency is going to be probably you're going to end up in a caloric deficit. That is, if you have any spare fat on your body anyway. If you don't have any spare fat on your body, then you probably will still be hungry after you eat less calories than you burn. So you'll probably end up just eating more. But if you're a person that has any weight to lose, that body fat will probably satisfy you in between meals, and you'll probably find that you'll be eating less calories than you actually expend in a day. I think it's just a natural course of things. I don't think that much attention needs to be paid to it, but I think that people have people naturally have an unnatural relationship with food, and that's because of how we've been kind of programmed and conditioned. And I don't want to get into a bunch of conspiracy theory, but if you've ever tried to like break your habits with food, you know what I'm talking about. You know that these conditions are real. It's very difficult. Keto is not complicated. It is simple, but not easy. Many of us, when we had to kind of deprogram ourselves from all the things that we learned about fat, like, I mean, to me, it was like blew my mind. And so when we came to the point where we're finding out that fat's not bad for us, and that sugar has made us insulin resistant, and how the mechanics of how insulin works and how insulin controls and rules over hunger, I think that it's natural for us to fight against this idea that we could just eat once a day. But we're going to talk about that a little more in a little bit. So as I said today, my weight, my check-in is going to be 176 pounds. I still am at my goal. I'm happy where I'm at. I'm probably going to lose some more weight because I'm probably going to do some protein sparing modified fasts, and it's going to force my body to burn some fat, and I'm going to calm down and not just eat bacon for a month for a while. I have some recipes that I'd love to try out for this Thanksgiving, and I still owe myself a German chocolate cake for my birthday. I promised myself that after I was done with the bacon experiment, I would make myself a belated birthday cake. It would be a keto birthday cake using my muffin batter for the cake, and then a customized coconut pecan frosting that will actually have coconuts and will actually have pecans, and it should be wonderful and delightful. And I've promised myself this thing, so dang it, I'm probably gonna make it. And that might be one of our desserts. I'll probably have 2 desserts for this Thanksgiving, and that'll probably be one of them. And I'm not going to worry about how much of it that I eat, because heck, it's Thanksgiving and it's supposed to be a time of feasting, and I can just jump right back into my normal routine of things, and I believe that I have improved my insulin sensitivity to where my body reacts properly to the right conditions. So later on this hour, I will be giving away 4 books, and one of them is Wheat Belly by William Davis, MD. I've got a couple copies of this, so I can afford to give these out. If you are interested in this book, then you probably should tune in around 1/4 to the hour. And this book is normally $16.99 if you buy it retail. I am giving this away absolutely free to any U.S. resident, and you can choose from that book or one of these other 3. So this one is the new Atkins for the new you. I also have a couple copies of this. This is Eric Westman, MD, with Dr. Stephen Finney, MD, and Jeff Volek, PhD. If you want to find out anything about these guys, look up any of their videos on YouTube, and you'll find out what kind of dynamic speakers on low carb, high fat nutrition that they are. They're extremely credible. This book has a few things in it that are more like Atkins oriented versus what I consider to be true ketogenic or low carb, high fat. And there's a few principles in it that I would suggest that you avoid. One of them is the idea that products can be a convenience food. I don't consider that really an option. I think that if you want convenience food, I think you should prep it ahead of time. It takes you just as long to go to the store and buy convenience foods as it does to make something at home. You can make something that's far more delicious and nutritious for you and doesn't give you a bad digestive reaction. So that's one thing. And also they talk about reintroducing grains and things like that, and I don't agree with that. But I'm not a doctor. I can't give you medical advice. They're doctors. So outside of that, I have utmost respect for Eric Westman, Stephen Finney, and Jeff Volek. So, but it is an Atkins book, so it is kind of an Atkins guideline thing. There's also this book, Why We Get Fat, by Gary Taubes, and what to do about it. He's an extremely talented science writer. If you've ever heard him speak, I would recommend you Google him up and look up some of his videos. He's a tremendously talented science writer. And another, that's like the pocket edition, and then there's this one, which is more like the bookshelf edition. He's also the author of Good Calories, Bad Calories, talking about which calories actually do make you fat and which ones don't. And if you've been watching my channel, then you probably already know what calories I'm talking about. So you have your choice of any of those 4 books coming up later this hour. And I'll tell you how to win one of these books if you're a U.S. resident. And so the discussion that I got into with someone at work, and I won't disclose her name out of respect, she was saying that her boyfriend was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, and I think that's something that like always sparks my interest. I'm tremendously interested in trying to help people with type 2 diabetes, something that I think I know a lot about. I can't give people medical advice, but what I can do is tell them what I've seen work in some people, and they can use their own discretion, or they can consult with a doctor about what the approach is. But I always refer to Dr. Westman and Dr. Sarah Hallberg for their gracious speaking on YouTube. They've done a lot of research. They've got a lot of experience under their belt helping type 2 diabetics and obese patients. People want to lose weight, or they want to reverse their diabetes, or even in some cases I've seen people reverse their kidney disease. So it's very possible that these nutritional remedies may surpass the effectiveness of medicine, the traditional medical treatments such as insulin and blood sugar lowering pharmaceuticals. So that really sparked my interest, and made me want to talk about intermittent fasting, because she was talking about how her boyfriend sits down once a day and eats a bunch of junk food, 4,000 calories a day. 4,000 calories he'll easily sit down and eat. And I think that that's yeah, you could say that that's like way over on the calories, but there's an explanation for why there's that many calories involved, and there's an explanation why he's that hungry when he finally sits down to eat. Because if a person is diabetic, then by definition, if they're type 2 diabetic, then they're insulin resistant. So if they're insulin resistant, then their body can't burn carbohydrates normally, because their cells are insulin resistant and they don't respond when the insulin tries to move the glucose out of the bloodstream and into the cells to try to use for energy. And the body can't burn fat because insulin's in the bloodstream saying, don't burn anything else until I get rid of all of this glucose. It takes forever to get rid of the glucose. And in fact, since the glucose is still there, the body thinks, oh, I need more insulin to take care of it. So it floods the body with more insulin, thus exacerbating the problem of insulin resistance, making you even more resistant because your body is flooded with so much insulin, way too much insulin in your blood. It takes forever. And so during that time, you feel very, very hungry because you can't burn glucose for fuel and you can't burn fat for fuel. So you feel like you're starving because you are. So you can easily put down 4,000 calories or 5,000 calories in a single sitting because, well, you're not able to access any of that for energy. You still feel hungry. And that's why so many people, when they switch to a low carb, high fat nutritional approach, they suddenly realize, hey, I'm not hungry. I'm hardly ever hungry. And when I'm hungry, I know I should eat. But man, I can't believe, like, I can hardly finish this because the fat and the protein are so satisfying, and your body can actually use the things that you're putting in your mouth for fuel right away because it doesn't have that insulin in the bloodstream. And when you're eating, you don't have an insulin spike right away. You don't have insulin blocking you from burning body fat or burning dietary fat. Immediately you can use that for fuel. And so the body says, hey, okay, I got enough fuel. Stop being hungry. You're okay. And then suddenly you're satisfied. And you find yourself satisfied as you become more and more adapted. You find yourself satisfied more and more of the time with less need for additional food. So you find yourself not as hungry. And it's actually more difficult to sit down with 4,000 calories in a sitting. If that was your intention, you find that more difficult when you are so satisfied all the time. And as a result of that, a lot of people, not everybody, but a lot of people who deprive themselves of enough carbohydrate over enough time, a lot of people end up just naturally fasting because they just, if you eat when you're hungry and you're not hungry like most of the time, well, that just means that most of the time you're not eating. During that time, your insulin levels go way low, and they won't go too low because your body still has to do some gluconeogenesis to feed that 20 to 40% of the brain that still needs glucose when you're fat adapted. Your liver will start producing some glucose for you, and you'll need to use some insulin in your blood to regulate that. So you'll still have some insulin in the blood, but it becomes very, very low, and it's not enough to really inhibit your body's ability to absorb anything or burn body fat. And during that time, since you're not eating anything, if you don't have the glucose in your blood, and if you finally use up all the dietary fat that you ate, your body's burning your adipose tissue, your extra subcutaneous fat deposits, and it's helping to clean out the fat around your liver, the fat around your pancreas. It's helping to do all that, and your fat reserves get lower and lower and lower, and you just find yourself naturally losing weight because insulin's not in the way anymore, at least not to the degree that it was. And your insulin sensitivity usually improves considerably over that time. That's not saying you are cured. What it means is that you have optimized the conditions based on your metabolic injury. You have optimized the conditions to return to normal function. However, if you go back to eating the other way and grazing all the time, then your insulin levels will stay up high all the time, and you will become insulin resistant again faster than you did before. So if you're diabetic, you'll just go right back to being diabetic, and your conditions will progress at an even faster rate. But if you stay on track, then you're going to not experience the condition of diabetes at all, in most cases, for the rest of your life, if you stay on track. If you know how to eat, you should eat correctly, and then not worry about those conditions returning. But if you go off track, then you're probably going to experience those symptoms once again. Just know that. That's how it works. We're right here at 4:36. I do these keto chats once every Saturday at 4 p.m. Pacific time. So if this stream is not coming out perfectly clear, then hopefully next week it'll come out clearer. But you guys can also tune in on the replay. And if you don't get a chance to view this live and get in on the book giveaway, you have 24 hours after that. If nobody has claimed the prize by the end of the hour, then you'll still have 24 hours to respond. And I'll give that cue coming up here in about 10 minutes. So intermittent fasting also serves another purpose, and that is it's called autophagy. So not only is your body burning your fat reserves for fuel once your dietary fat is exhausted, but it's also metabolizing defective or useless cells. So you may notice that on my arms, you don't see a whole lot of flappy tissue here, and there is a little bit, but it has reduced considerably over the last couple of months. And I actually have some amount of decent muscle tone because the work that I do is pretty strenuous, and it requires a lot of lifting and strength and heavy pulling and pushing. So in order to adjust to that, my body has actually given me some muscle. I was not prepared when I first started working there, but my body has made adjustments. But autophagy basically takes defective cells that have, over time, your cells tend to sometimes overproduce cells, and so some of the cells have defective DNA. Now, if those cells continue to reproduce at an alarming rate, that's what we normally call cancer, where mutated cells with defective DNA start reproducing and taking over your body. So when you're doing intermittent fasting, you trigger autophagy, and autophagy normally will consume or put a kill switch on those cells. They die, and your body eats them, basically. It metabolizes them, consumes them. And when you consume cells, your cell respiration, your cells breathe in and out sort of like you do. It's respiration. And when they breathe in energy and building blocks, and they make things, and the cells pass material and energy, building blocks and energy and fats to and from each other through cell respiration. And any waste gets taken to the lungs and to the urinary tract and to the digestive tract to be passed as human waste or as your breath. So along with carbon dioxide, a lot of your ketone waste gets respirated out. It gets exhaled out of your body. Vast majority of your fat really gets exhaled. So if you're thinking that your fat is like going out through your poop chute, most of it is actually going out through your lungs through respiration, natural respiration, cell respiration, and then lung respiration. So it's a very interesting process, and it's really cool to kind of look at it and like a microcosm and a macrocosm situation as far as your organs and your cells are concerned. And so during autophagy, your body is just consuming excess cells. It's going through and doing house cleaning. And part of that house cleaning is also restoring your immune system. So a lot of faulty bacteria end up in your gut. You end up eating things that have bad bacteria in them in some cases, or they cause your body to end up in an anaerobic state in your gut, not an alkaline state. I don't want to even get into that. There's a lot of marketing BS going on with alkaline versus acidity, but we'll do that in next week's chat. Alkaline versus acid. We'll do that in next week's chat. We'll talk more about that in depth. But when you are when you're eating, you're constantly eating in things that have good and bad bacteria, hopefully more good bacteria, and you'll replenish your biome. But at the same time, that biome is there to do battle with the bad bacteria and to help break down food further that your stomach acids can't finish off. Your stomach acids break it down into a certain level, and then your biome continues to feed off of that. You know, you think about like how a cow eats grass, right? But the cow really doesn't eat grass. What the cow eats is, the cow has more than one stomach, and what they have is a biome in the next stomach. Basically, after they've broken down the grass to a certain point, they've composted it. Now these microbes go in and they eat the grass, and essentially they poop out stuff that the cow uses for energy. So you may say a cow is a vegetarian, but the truth is that these microbes are putting out animal waste, and the cow eats that. Really, that's what the cow eats for energy, is the waste of these microbes, not the actual grass. And they just basically poop out the rest of it. Everything else is just waste. But what it actually feeds off of is the energy that's coming out of these microbes. And in our case, our biome kind of serves that purpose in our small intestine especially. And in the large intestine, we have at the end of the large intestine, we have the appendix, which is sort of like a test tube or a beaker of healthy bacteria, hopefully healthy bacteria. If you're like me and some bad bacteria gets in there and causes some kind of rampant outbreak of bad bacteria, then you may end up with a ruptured appendix like I did and had to have it all taken out. But your body feeds off of what those microbes put out, as well as what the body can directly absorb. So like things like sugars end up getting fermented, broken down into smaller building blocks that can be turned into fat and stored for energy, or they can be used directly as glucose, and depending on the glycemic index, they may turn into glucose faster or slower. But you still have to deal with the same amount of glucose, and you still have to deal with it with the same amount of insulin. And if you're insulin resistant, it's going to take even more insulin. But in the same nature that a cow sort of feeds off of those microbes waste, you feed off of those microbes waste in your biome. Hopefully you have more good bacteria than bad bacteria, but if you're in autophagy during intermittent fasting, then you probably have less of the bad bacteria because your body will metabolize it and kill it off. It sets a kill switch on things. There's a good movie documentary about intermittent fasting. It's called Eat, Fast, and Live Longer, and it's on BBC. And I'm sure you can find it on YouTube or elsewhere, but it is a fantastic documentary. It's very important information. And there's a guy in there, his name is Walter Longo, and he's sort of like my hero of intermittent fasting. He talks about how even a fast of 2 or 3 days can have a very interesting results. And you know, something like 5-2 fasting, where you're eating your normal amount of calories for 5 days a week, 2 days a week, you're eating 25% of your calories. Now on low carb, high fat, it's extremely effective. There maybe even, you know, there's some other ways that are pretty effective too. Jason Fung does a lot of research on fasting, and he's very interesting to listen to. I don't know if I'm interested in doing any kind of really extended fasts. Seems to take kind of a toll on me, but it's interesting field, and I think that certain types of fasts are easier to do, and you may get the same kind of benefit that you get out of long-term fasts, but over a period of time. So like 5-2 fasting is pretty effective, and it's fairly easy to do. It is now 1/4 of the hour, and I'm ready to give away these books. So don't know how many of you are watching, but I have 4 books here. A New Atkins for a New You. I have Wheat Belly by William Davis, MD, and I have 2 different copies of Why We Get Fat and What to Do About It by Gary Taubes. And if in the next 15 minutes you post that you are interested in the comments down below, then you will be offered a chance to if you're a US resident, I will ship it off to you for free. Whichever book that you choose, you get to choose 1 book. And if nobody claims it in the next 15 minutes, which you will see in the live chat over here, if nobody claims it in the next 15 minutes, then you have an opportunity for the next 24 hours to do the same in the comments down below. So if you want, you can just say, I'm interested in the book giveaway. Tell me which book that you want, or I'll private message you and ask you which book that you want, and I will get your information. I will ship it directly off to you, and you can have a fresh book. Now all of these are thrift store finds. I got them for next to nothing. All of them are bestsellers. They're great books, and highly recommended. But I do a lot of shopping for these just so that I can share this information with you guys for free. And I want to gift these books to you, so please make sure that you don't leave this stream without leaving a comment and saying, I'm interested in this book. I'm interested in one of these books. Let me know which book, and we will make sure it happens for you. Anyway, so I did do my bacon experiment for 30 days, and I don't know if you guys have seen it, but this week I posted my final thoughts on the bacon experiment. I want to thank again Dan Quibel and Jason Maddox for promoting that. I think that it was super sweet, and really happy that that Dan Quibel approved of the video. It could have been worse. But also Jennifer Fletcher for leaving a nice comment about it. Just basically the title of the video is called "I Ate Only Bacon for 30 Days. Here's What Happened." Now that's not one of those fun clickbait titles, you know. Could have said, "I ate bacon for 30 days. What happened next was amazing." And, you know, would have been one of those things. But, you know, there's not one of those cutesy gaming thumbnails that a lot of people like to use on my videos. Just basically just me in a bacon suit. I did get my bacon suit. I'm very happy with it. I like it. It's fun. I will probably eat bacon most of my life. Probably most days I will eat bacon. I love it. It's now, I figured out, you know, you have to use your imagination when you're eating bacon every day, how you cook it. And so I got pretty creative with how to cook bacon, and also just different types of meat, pork belly and pork chops, and what works well for seasoning. And you're gonna eat the same thing every day, you might as well enjoy it, right? So I tried different things. I came up with a couple of condiment combinations that worked really well, and one of these days I'll share some of that with you. I did shoot a video on how to bake bacon. I'm not sure how well a lot of the footage came out because I kept having a problem with one of my cameras, so I do want to share that with you guys at some point on the BroBryce Cooks channel, so you can go check that out, the BroBryce Cooks channel right here on YouTube. All one word, BroBryce Cooks. I'll have the link in the description. And I also want to leave another link for the bacon experiment. I do think it's a great way to get kick-started into keto, you know, because a lot of people, they get confused with all the different food options. Can I eat this? Can I eat that? Can I eat this? Can I eat that? Well, bacon experiment makes it simple. You can eat bacon. There you go. Eat bacon and you'll lose weight. In fact, pretty much, like, you know, they say like 2 pounds for guys and 1.5 pounds for girls. Well, a lot of people can't even eat that. So you just end up in a caloric deficit. Even if you're eating pork belly, a lot of people can't finish all of it. So we're coming up on the top of the hour, guys, and looking forward to you guys, somebody getting one of these books. Make sure that you leave a comment that you're interested, either in the live chat or in the next 24 hours. And if you're a US resident, you are welcome to get one of these books for absolutely free. I will be sending it book rate straight to you, absolutely free, if you're a US resident. I'm thinking that maybe next week, to promote this live stream, I will probably do next week's live chat on Facebook, and just kind of get that started, just so that more people know about it, because it seems that Facebook has a better mechanism for letting people know that that you're live, and it's less complicated. They've made the experience pretty easy, and I'll probably just do it there and maybe upload it to YouTube after the fact. So next week's stream, figure that's going to be on Facebook, and because we've had minimal engagement on these videos so far this week. I do want to keep doing it, but I think that the Facebook engagement will probably be better, and then I will upload them to YouTube so that you guys get a chance, you guys that are only on YouTube and not on Facebook, which I know there's a lot of people. I talk to a lot of people. I'm surprised how many people just say, nope, I'm not gonna get on Facebook. Cool. That's cool. I'm impressed. Anybody who can get through their life without Facebook, man, That's got to be like empowering. But because of what I do, my life is set on a certain goal and certain functions in life, and part of what I do is it happens on social media. So Facebook is not something that I can avoid at this stage in my life, but I'm ready to do some stuff a little bit differently so that you guys can be more engaged. I think that that's how I'm going to do it. And I may do one occasionally on Twitch as well, on the BroBryce Cooks. We'll see what happens. We'll figure out which platform works better. But next week's live stream is going to happen on Facebook. Tune in there, and I will make sure that I put that in the show notes underneath. We're coming up on 5 minutes from the hour. And the American Heart Association recently made the statement that soy may not be heart healthy. Thanks, American Heart Association, for letting us know that after decades of pumping and promoting and pumping soybean as being heart healthy, that maybe a lot of people who maybe have died because of your statements regarding soy, they don't get to come back to life just because you recant your statements on soy being heart healthy. A lot of people who have heart disease because you told them that carbohydrates are essential nutrients. A lot of people that have strokes because you told them that fat is bad for them and that they should take a statin to lower their cholesterol. Thank you for all of that. Well, thank you for recanting your statements regarding soy, at least. That's one teeny tiny fraction of 1% of making some kind of reparations to humankind for your grievous sins against humanity. But I'm not bitter, because I know the truth about nutrition and I'm trying to share it with people. I don't have a problem with just saying that I think the American Heart Association, the American Diabetes Association, and the American Cancer Foundation, the American Cancer Association, the Juvenile Diabetes Foundation are, they really seem very, very crooked to me, in my opinion. That is my statement about that. So I would say educate yourself on nutrition. Listen to your doctor, write down what your doctor says, and do your own research on what your doctor says, and decide whether you want to continue with that doctor, or if you want to find a doctor that is giving you medically sound advice. For God's sake, please find out if your doctor is giving you medically sound advice, and decide for yourself if you want to follow that advice. I always say, listen to your doctor, and hopefully there's something that you can glean from what I say that will be beneficial to your life. So we're coming up on 2 minutes from the hour. Just so you guys know, after this stream, I will be briefly joining Tony Thomas over on the Old Nerd Reviews channel. Tonight, I'm pretty tired. I didn't sleep that well last night. So I'm going to give it a go. I got to get up early in the morning tomorrow and go to work. So I'm going to give it a go and try to join Tony's stream over there. Check out Old Nerd Reviews. There'll be a link in the description down below, and hopefully you guys can join me over there. It's pretty fun. The chat over there is always fun. The chow is almost never keto friendly, but the chat is always fun. There's a lot of fun people over there, and it's just a bunch of old nerds getting together and chatting about nerdy stuff, and it's great. So a big shout out to my best buddy in the whole wide world, Tony Thomas, over there on the Old Nerd Reviews. Thank you, Tony. High fives. High five yourself. And we're going to close this out with some more music from Glenn Case. And thanks again for watching. We will see you again next week. Next week on Facebook, in the BroBryceHealth Facebook group, I will have a live keto chat in there. And you guys are welcome to join in. I'll see you there. Bye-bye.